Hello YouTube, this is Dakota from Bowtied Media, and let's talk about this brand new Skybreak and Splitter drama. This past Monday, Tyler the Creator dropped his brand new album, CHROMAKOPIA. And myself and others, I'm sure most of you were actually pretty excited to listen to this brand new album and had it on repeat for the first couple days. Well, Skybreak and Splitter were two of those people that also were really enjoying the album, and they were enjoying it so much that the two of them got together and decided they wanted to do a remix of the 8th track on the album, Sticky. Then on Saturday, just 5 days after the release of the album, the two of them had a fully branded and released remix of Sticky that came out on SoundCloud as a free download. And well, it seems some people were not happy with that. So before I get to any of the real meat of this kind of drama, this situation, I do want to get my opinions out there first and foremost. I love this remix, and I love the fact that they made this remix. I was really enjoying this album, and when I heard that there was potentially a remix coming out from Skybreak and Splitter, I was really curious and expectant for what was going to come, and pretty hyped. Honestly, this practice of remixing newer, kind of more popular style songs is a kind of trend that has been lost in the modern era of EDM production, I think, for the most part. I think back 10 years ago, and that was kind of just the norm. That was the meta of music industry. A new song came out, and you kind of remixed it and threw it on SoundCloud, and you gave it a free download, and that was it. You couldn't really put it on the streaming platforms like a Spotify or Apple Music, but you made it because it was fun, and you really liked the new track, and you wanted to put your own spin on it. So honestly, when this remix came out, it gave me a bit of like nostalgia for that older kind of classic, more old school term of EDM, where I was like, oh my goodness, like this is cool. Like there were albums that would come out, there were pop albums that came out back then where like everyone did a remix of like a new song right off the bat and put it on SoundCloud. Like that was the thing. That was what you did. Like we don't throw the term around a ton nowadays. It's maybe more so in the DJ sphere, but bootlegs was like a common thing. My iTunes library was filled with like bootleg style remixes and covers where they weren't really allowed to post it anywhere other than these free download sites or something like SoundCloud, and it was just great. It was a fun time. Like the sheer amount of these kind of free download bootleg kind of remix styles of songs, it was ridiculous in the early 2010s and kind of kept SoundCloud alive, and sort of, I would say, one of the main reasons SoundCloud still exists, honestly. When I say bootleg, by the way, that just kind of means an unofficial remix that you didn't have any of the original stems for the remix, so you kind of just bootlegged it, and you kind of just did what you could with what you had, and that was your remix. That's what a bootleg is. There's not any I can really name off the top of my tongue right now, but I specifically remember hearing artists talk about like, oh, this remix I did, like that kind of took off back then, and that's how I gained a lot of popularity, was because doing this bootleg or this remix, and that's how people found me. And if you go on Spotify pages for a ton of artists, there's a lot of them out there that their number one song is a remix. So all that to say is, I really love this. I love the idea of people just remixing songs. That kind of is EDM. This kind of brings me back to a nostalgic state where everyone just remixing everything and anything and just having fun with it. But I guess I am not everyone, and other people were not happy. So let's read some tweets, shall we? Album hasn't been out for a full week, and they're already committing acts of terrorism with these remixes. Wow, that is a fully loaded tweet on the reply of the Skybreak download now for free post. So yeah, let's talk about this. First of all, I think this is crazy. I think these kind of comments don't really belong online, and I know that's what Twitter is, and that's kind of just the platform it is nowadays. But this isn't helpful in any capacity, and this is actually quite harmful, I think, in some capacity. But before we get into the meat of this post, they doubled down later in the subtweet and said, y'all's inability to understand that criticizing someone's music is not a criticism of their character is why you take every post saying someone doesn't like an artist way too personally. Ugh. I get what you're trying to say here. I understand what they're saying, that it's not a criticism of the person, it is a criticism of the music. And that is a thing, because I do that a ton. I give albums 0s and 1s and 2s out of 10, and that is just my personal opinion. But when your original tweet says they're already committing acts of terrorism, that is more than just funny banter or criticism. That is direct harm in what you're saying. But more than anything, I think a lot of the main criticism here came from the fact that it came out so quickly after the album came out, that this remix was up and ready to go and branded and released on SoundCloud just 5 days after the original album was posted. And on the surface level, I do think you could potentially look at that and go, hey, this is some cash grab that's just hopping on the most recent trends. But I think if you were to look at it in a little bit of scrutiny, with just a little bit of scrutiny, and ask just a couple questions, you'd realize that is very much not the case. First of all, all, this is a free download on SoundCloud. It's not on official streaming platforms, and so you can't really make a lot of money off this, if anything, honestly, off this brand new remix. And so I don't really understand the idea of this being a cash grab. I don't get why people feel like because it was posted so quickly that this is some form of money grab type thing, because they're not making that much money off this, if anything. The fact that you immediately assume that the artist is in it just for the money, I think really showcases what your whole thought process ideology is on music creation, that artists can't just be artists. And secondly, and I would say most importantly to this point, is that art can take various amounts of time. Sometimes you just get in the zone and you're like, oh my, I'm focused in, I see the final product exactly where I want it to be, and you're like going for it, and things just flow and things work, and it just comes out marvelously. And in a short amount of time. And there are other times where like a full album even takes years and years and years and almost even a decade for some artists to put out. I think a great example of this is Grant's Starship, actually. He said was created start to finish, I think for the most part, other than maybe the mix down, in a day, in a single 24-hour span. That song was done. And while it wasn't thrown out right away into the public because it had to sign to a label and this kind of stuff, which this remix didn't have to, the Sticky remix, but no one's criticizing Starship by Grant for being a song that was done quickly. No one's like, oh, this is crap because this was finished in under 24 hours. Like, no, like that's one of my personal favorite Grant songs. And the fact that he did it in so little time, I'm genuinely impressed. I don't look at it and go, oh, he should have spent more time on it. I'm like, no, that's crazy. He's nuts. I think an example for myself even was back at the end of 2023 when I did my year in review. I did 5 videos on my like top and worst albums and songs and stuff of the year. 5 videos that all ranged from 15 to 20 minutes in length, high quality video with good storytelling and writing and editing. And all 5 of those videos, I'd hate to tell you if this was a spoiler for you, I guess in some capacity, were done in 48 hours. I did them in 48 hours, from writing to shooting to editing, all done in 48 hours because I was in the zone. I was locked in, I had the time, and that was my passion. And no one's looking at that and going, oh my goodness, that I can't believe you did it so fast. You should have put more time into this. People are going, this is crazy. This is some of your highest quality videos I've ever seen. And so it doesn't really matter how long it takes to get done. It's the end product that we really care about. And the same thing obviously goes for the Skybreak and Splitter remix of Sticky. It doesn't really matter how long it took. And I think you would actually be surprised how often some of these songs don't take a lot of time. I think as maybe a consumer, we hear about songs being done or something like that, being worked on like years ago. But I think there's a lot of you guys don't really recognize how when you go through a label and you go through official streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, it takes a long time to get there, and have that release takes a long time. But when you do a free SoundCloud upload or download, you'd be surprised how fast that can just go up right away if they're done and they just hit export to SoundCloud. And I just think there's a certain sense in the industry where people think people work on songs for like years, which just isn't the case. For those of us, I would say, true creatives out there, and you would know who you are if you'd say you're a creative, there are times where you really get locked in and you're so passionate about whatever you're working on that it takes up everything in your life. You're not talking to friends and family, you're not playing other games, you're not doing all this stuff. You are like focused in on this one task, this one thing, because that's what you care about. It's something that I have done a ton because that's just my personality. I'm very hyper-focused on things. My wife can attest to that, absolutely. And yeah, I just think as a creative, sometimes you get in these spaces where you just kind of want to go for it, and that just takes up your whole time. And that's what happened here with this remix. We shouldn't be faulting artists here for being so gung-ho about a new release or a new passion project or new anything really, and putting all of their time and effort into one individual project, song, or remix, or album even. And so to Mr. William Defro here on Twitter, I don't think you're a creative, and that's fine. I think that's fine. You don't need to be. Not everyone needs to be, but you clearly have never experienced and or felt what it's like to be so passionate about something so adamantly and so quickly and have it consume all of your life. And so I guess it's just not you, and that's okay. But you don't need to go on Twitter and just say that someone is a terrorist for making a remix. And then there's other tweets like this that said, I'm actually tired of seeing dubstep producers profit off black hip-hop songs when they don't have a history of supporting black artists. It feels a bit tone deaf and minstrel, not gonna lie. I hope I don't have to go through this, right? Like you guys understand how crazy this tweet is and how tone deaf this tweet is, right? This is just kind of a brain rot tweet that is purely there to just kind of cancel them for no apparent reason and do no look into anything at all into the artist and the remix and just kind of be up in arms about anything because you want to be up in arms about anything. That's just, it's irresponsible. So in the end, let's not be up in arms about artists having fun and, remixing tracks that they enjoy and being passionate about stuff they enjoy, because honestly, in the end, like, if you think this is just a cash grab, like, Skybreak and Splitters spent time working on this that they're going to make very, very, very little money off of when they could have made a song together that they could have made a lot of royalties off of, a lot of money off of, potentially. And so it's like, no, this actually was a waste of their time in some sense. And obviously that's not how it works in the whole ecosystem of just the industry. But it just, the arguments are so just piss poor. And if you came here and you're watching this, you're going, hey, this controversy, I didn't hear about any of this. This sounds ridiculous. That's good. Honestly, thank you. I'm sure that's 90% of you. I hope that's 90% of you that came into this and going, what the heck? And these people are crazy for saying the things they say, because I think this remix is fire. I think this whole idea is fire. I love the idea of doing these kind of remixes, these bootlegs, these just kind of anything with any new release. And it's a style of content that I actually want back in the EDM sphere. And again, it's a free piece of music on SoundCloud. You don't have to download it. You don't have to listen to it. You don't even have to give it a second glance. If you don't like it, just move on. We don't need this hate towards things like these and artists like this. So let's just be a little more friendly online. And, if you need to, just ask a couple questions and just say, oh, hey, like, am I thinking about this the right way? And maybe DM the artist individually. And then if you still come to a disagreement, then sure, I guess do whatever. But hey, I just think that all of this is so unnecessary, because I do recognize that there are remixes, bootleg stuff like this that are cash grabs to some extent, that are just meant to play off of the mainstream kind of commercial success of other songs that have already been released. But this just isn't that. And if you did a little bit of research, a little bit of looking into this stuff, you'd recognize that that wasn't the case either. But that's not how the world works sometimes. So I've been Dakota from Bowtied Media. Let me know what you guys think of this whole situation, this whole controversy in the comment section below. I obviously think it's ridiculous. I think this is crazy. Let's let artists have fun. See ya.